Welcome to Litbit channel. Today we will see classical comedy and overview. Now let's start with the basics. What is classical comedy? Classical comedy is a type of drama that adheres to the rules of composition established by ancient Greek and Roman playwrights, focusing on satire, realism, and societal correction. If we see the definition, classical comedy is a genre of a drama that adheres to the rules and principles of dramatic composition laid down by ancient Greek and Roman playwright. It's characterized by satire, realism, and the corrections of social follies and vice through humor. Next one, when it started. Classical comedy has its root in ancient Greece, with Aristophanes in 5th century BCE being one of its earliest and most notable practitioners. Later Roman dramatists like Plautus and Terence continued and refined this tradition. Let's see about the pioneer of classical comedy. First one, Aristophanes, known for play like Lysistrata and the Clouds, which satirized politics, society, and culture. Plautus created comedies like the Menaechmi and the Captives, focusing on humor derived from mistaken identities and clever servants. Terence, known for refined and sophisticated works like the Adelphi and the Eunuchs, which emphasized character interaction. Let's talk about some of the followers of classical comedy. Ben Jonson, a prominent figure in English classical comedy, with works like Wellborn and The Alchemist. He followed the satirical and corrective traditions of classical comedy. Earlier, revived classical comedy principles in the 17th century with works like Tartuffe and Misanthrope. Let's discuss about the key features of classical comedy. Observance of the three unities. Unity of time, the action takes place within 24 hours. Unity of place, the setting is confined to one location. Unity of action, the plot is singular and cohesive. Separations of comic and tragic elements. No blending of light and serious elements. Roots remains purely comic. Then next one, realism, depicts the lives of ordinary people, focusing on familiar everyday scenarios. Satire and criticism, expose and ridicules human folly, weakness, and social vice. Moral purpose, aims to correct and reform society by highlighting its flaws. The characteristics of the classical comedy. Laughter is used as a tool for criticism, not mere entertainment. Characters often represent societal archetypes or exaggerated traits. Language is witty, sharp, and often filled with puns and wordplay. Structure preserves adhering strictly and classical rules. Next one, famous works and author. First one, The Clouds by Aristophanes, The Alchemist by Ben Jonson, Tartuffe by Molière, Menaechmi by Plautus. Aims and purpose of classical comedy. Aim, to entertain and educate by highlighting human flaws and societal issues through humor and satire. Purpose, to correct moral, social, or individual defects, ridiculing them, thereby encouraging self-reflections and improvement. Finally, we summarize the rules of classical comedy. Strict adherence to the unities. Unity of time, place, and action. Clear separation between comic and tragic elements, or no blending of light and serious elements. Then realistic portrayals of life and character. It depicts the lives of ordinary people, focusing on familiar everyday scenarios. Then focusing on satire, wit, and moral criticism. It exposes and ridicules human follies, weakness, and social vice. In conclusion part, classical comedy is a timeless genre rooted in ancient tradition. Its emphasis on realism, satire, and moral purpose set it apart from other forms of drama. By exposing human follies and societal flaws, it serves as both entertainment and as a tool for social. Let me recall this chapter. What is classical comedy? Classical comedy is a type of drama that adheres to the rules of composition established by ancient Greek and Roman playwrights, focusing on satire, realism, and societal correction. Then, who were the pioneer of classical comedy? The pioneer of classical comedy were Aristophanes in Greece and Plautus and Terence in Rome. They laid the foundation for classical comedy, which was later developed and refined by others playwrights. What are the main features of classical comedy? The main features of classical comedy include observance of the time, three unities, separations of comic and tragic elements, realism in portraying everyday life, corrective and satiric purpose. What are the three unities in classical comedy? The three unities in classical comedies are unit of time. The story occurs within 24 hours. Unity of place. The story is set in a single location. Unity of action. The plot is singular and cohesive. What is the purpose of classical comedy? The purpose of classical comedy is to expose and ridicule human follies, weakness, and social vibes, encouraging moral and societal forms. What is the difference between classical and romantic comedy? Classical comedy follows strict rules and realism, focusing on societal critique, whereas romantic comedy emphasizes love, imagination, and emotional elements. Who is considered the father of Greek comedy? Aristophanes is considered the father of Greek comedy. He was a prominent Greek playwright who wrote many famous comedies including Lysistrata and the Clouds. What are some famous works of Aristophanes? Some famous works of Aristophanes including Lysistrata, the Clouds and the Frogs. Who were the notable Roman classical comedy playwrights? Plautus and Terence were the notable Roman classical comedy playwrights. They adapted Greek comedies and developed their own styles, focusing on dramatic life and refined character interaction. What themes are commonly addressed in classical comedy? Common themes in classical comedy including human greed, hypocrisy, vanity, and societal corruption. Thank you viewers. Thanks for watching this video.